When I was at my most burnt out back in the early 2000s, one of the biggest problems, challenges, obstacles I faced was that I had a very, very short fuse and anything could make me explode. Anybody could push my buttons. I don't know if you've ever had a short fuse. I don't know if you feel like you have a lot of hot buttons that people can press quite easily. If you do, keep listening because I want you to avoid the mistake that I made. So when I was blowing up all over the place, when I did have this short fuse, I mistakenly believed it was the situation that I was in or the people that I was around that was the problem. So what I tried to do to increase the length of my fuse, to stop my buttons getting pushed, I would distance myself from the situation, from the environment, and from the people that I wrongly believed were the cause of my stress and therefore ultimately my burnout. Now this is a completely wrong thing to do because, as I've spoken about before, burnout is not something that happens because of something around you, external to you. It's because of something that happens internal to you, in your internal world, and more specifically in your unconscious mind. Now, when you're burnt out, there's a physiological thing that happens in the architecture of your brain, which makes you more likely to blow up at the smallest provocation, but there's also a psychological reason. And today I'm going to talk about the psychological reason. So in psychology, there is a thing called a memory gestalt. And a memory gestalt is like a chain of beads. And every emotion we have has a memory gestalt that leads from today when we feel this emotion, like anger, rage, anxiety. And that memory gestalt leads us and tracks back like breadcrumbs all the way back through the years, months, weeks, days and hours, back to the first time we ever experienced that emotion. So in the time when I was blowing up and had that short fuse and I was burnt out, somebody would do something that would violate one of my values like respect. So I would believe that they weren't respecting me or somebody around me, therefore I'd explode. And this explosion was not in proportion to what they had done. And it really annoyed me and frustrated me even more because I didn't know why I was being triggered. I didn't know why there was such an amount of emotion coming up out of me at that time. And this is what happens. This gestalt goes back from today all the way back to very early on in your life, to childhood, to the first time I felt anger attached to the belief that I was not being respected. And what happens is that this time I was blowing up in the current situation, that memory gestalt lit up. So all of those times in the past when I felt angry because of a violation that I believed someone wasn't respecting me, that all lit up as one big, bright, fucking nuclear explosion. And that's what happens. That's why someone who has road rage, for example, they overreact to the situation they are in that road rage incident. They don't know why they react so heavily. They react so heavily because, again, when they get angry and triggered, it triggers and lights up this memory gestalt all the way back from every single time they were fucked off and annoyed, all the way back to that triggering event when they first felt fucked off and annoyed. So if you want to diffuse that fuse, if you want to have less hot buttons, make you less triggered, you need to be able to take that initial event and neutralize it so you can collapse that memory gestalt. When you collapse the memory gestalt, when you experience the emotion in the current situation, it doesn't light up all of the other times and make it 15 million times worse. That's what I wish I'd known back in the day and what I do know now, and now you know. So I hope that helps.